Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Today we are discussing John Wick Chapter 4, directed by Chad Stahelski and starring Keanu Reeves, Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins, Laurence Fishburne, Bill Skarsgard, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, and many, many more. Continuing the story of the excommunicated assassin John Wick, he now finds himself under threat of the Marquis, who wishes to wipe out John Wick and everything and everyone that is attached to him. Diving straight into the positives of John Wick 4, the obvious one is the action. Of course it is. It's still sensational and thrilling, and it does deliver the goods. They constantly up the ante. They deliver new weaponry as well that we haven't seen used before. Got insane cinematography and choreography as well. It is absolutely stellar and possibly the best you will see on a big screen. For those aspects alone, you need to see this film in cinema. It's so creative and imaginative, and it definitely gives you those satisfying moments when somebody gets their whole body and life story rearranged with a 12 gauge. It's so satisfying. The set pieces are bigger, the stars are bigger. I loved Donnie Yen in this. Truth be told, I just love Donnie Yen. The second he's in anything, it immediately tells me that the standard of martial arts are going to be breathtakingly good. Scott Adkins as well was terrific, and what was great about Scott Adkins' performance here is we actually got to see a bit of his acting chops. He was good. The material wasn't, but he was good. But that being said, I do have some negatives. The biggest one for me being that this is way too long. This is the fourth installment of a fighting movie. Nearly 3-hour long runtime is fucking absurd. And there are scenes that can be and should be taken out of the film. As much as I praise Scott Adkins and loved him in this movie, his whole section can be cut and the film would be way smoother for it. The plot constantly got in the way for me here, and what's maddening is that there really isn't that much plot anyway. The synopsis I gave you, that's the plot. So why it felt the need to keep going back and repeating itself so many times, I truly do not understand. Had they actually gone somewhere with it, actually developed it, offered a few twists and turns, I might have understood. But they don't. They just keep repeating the same shit we heard at the beginning of the film. This one actually hurts me to say because I love Bill Skarsgard as an actor, but I thought he was an appalling villain. He is an absolutely useless, wasted character here. He is so underutilised and cut down to the bare bones. We know he can do physical and deranged, quite well in fact. Why not play to his strengths and make him feel like some unrelenting psychopath that John Wick has to deal with? No, instead we get some stuffy, cake-eating businessman. It's just boring, especially when it's surrounded by this insanely enjoyable action. It's such a terrible blend. Speaking of the performances, as much as I also love Keanu Reeves, it is fascinating how he managed to fail every single line read in this movie. Why does he sound confused with every single word he says? I need a gun. There are way too many characters here. Scott Adkins, yep, sorry, it must sound like I'm absolutely crapping on Scott Adkins. I promise you he was great. But get rid of him. He's not necessary here. You could have easily put him in the fifth one. Laurence Fishburne, I actively forgot he was even in the movie. He's there at the beginning, disappears for 2 hours, then he's in like a 5-minute scene at the end. Don't know why he's here. He doesn't need to be. I also didn't care about this new character, the Tracker, I think his name was, with the dog. It's not interesting and it's not original because every time I looked at him, I thought, you called Halle Berry and she said no, didn't she? His character is so clearly meant to be the Halle Berry character from 3, but she's clearly said no, and they've just rewritten it so it's a male and a new character, and they've just put this guy in her shoes and fill out the role that she was supposed to do. Yeah, I don't care about this guy. I'm not interested. I do not give a shit what happens to him. In fact, I personally would rather it was Halle Berry, or just cut the character entirely. Again, too many people here. And yes, John Wick movies are ridiculous, and rightly so, but there is a line, and for me, John Wick has yet to cross that line. Until now. There are several scenes here that are actually too ridiculous, too insane. I can't buy it. It is pulling me out of the film to a point that I am rolling my eyes at how stupid this is getting. It removes any and all consequences to this incredible action, and it totally removes the tension. We're just left waiting for what we know will happen to happen. He is quite literally impervious. I don't know if the film was trying to be funny at all times. I do think there's the odd scene here and there that is an intentional joke, and it does sort of work, but there's also a few scenes here that I don't think are jokes, and yet they're still really funny. One in particular, I won't go too into detail, but John Wick falls down some stairs, and it goes on for so long, I genuinely burst out laughing. These are the moments when you're actually crossing that line, and you're now starting to go into Fast and Furious, we're going to the moon territory. By all means, John Wick, go nuts. Be ridiculous. Do the most crazy, imaginative thing you can come up with. But don't go so far I literally can't give you my attention. And please don't remove any tension and stakes that you have actively worked so hard towards building. So I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 4 a 7 out of 10. It is what it is. You will have fun and you will enjoy yourself, especially if you're excited for this movie and you just want some good old-fashioned John Wick mayhem. Donnie Yen was superb. The cinematography is out of this world. Don't get me wrong, as much as I've complained, there is so much to compliment as well. But I can't lie, I for one thought this was way too long, almost egotistically long in fact, with far too many moments that don't just jump the shark, they somersault backwards over it. And sadly, the more they did that, the more it ripped me out of the film, and the more I got ripped out of the film, the less I cared. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen John Wick Chapter 4? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, you can always click on Lee's suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.